Hello and welcome to the Even Me podcast. This is your host, More Speaks.
And your girl Kim.
All right, and today we have a new topic. Kim, go ahead and let us know what it is today.
Yes, our topic today is will you work while you wait?
All right, so explain to us what you mean by that.
Well, you got to put in the work first, as you know, yourself mentally, physically, emotionally, while you waiting on God to bless you. So, like Moses in the wilderness, this is the same process. And most of us don't want to put in that work. We just want it to happen. We don't want to wait for it. So now I'm learning on this journey. I guess it's another chapter in my life. The old chapters are closing and moving on to another chapter. While I'm waiting on God, I'm working on myself and getting closer to Him. So therefore, everything would just come easily, because I'm already working toward the process of making sure I'm healed. Because this is the thing, people all say, "Oh, I got over. I'm not hurt. I'm not this. I'm moved on." Yeah, you moved on because the world moves around too, right? But have you really recovered from all your past rejections? So you got to patiently, put yourself in a waiting pool, waiting hole, and work on you, work on some things with you, and that's been my mission here.
So, how
That's what
much?
we.
I'll ask you two questions.
Go ahead.
How long are you willing to wait before it starts to work?
Hmm. You know, we will see signs that God gives us. We gonna hear. If you waiting patiently, you gonna hear God. That's what you're waiting for and working toward to be able to hear God when it's right and when it's wrong. Well, we know when stuff wrong. We choose not to hear God. We choose not because we think we interpret it in another way. Well, God told me this is such and such. Nah, He didn't tell you that. You told yourself.
Yeah, he told you he's going to do it, but he never
Mm,
gave you a time. There's no
that's
time.
it.
And then the second question: how much are you willing to work on it?
Very much. Because okay, I'm like, everybody has a Jonah season, right? Jonah. I feel like I've been in so many Jonah seasons because of when God trying to direct me to go one path, I veer off and I don't try to get back. I do, but I can't get back. Like your car trying to get back on the road, the
Yeah.
payment is this high. So God has to pick me up out of the situation that I put myself in and throw me back that way. And like, here we go. So that's basically how I feel about it. We don't, yeah, till God says it's time.
So let's say if you're working while you're waiting,
Mm-hmm.
and let's say you haven't got that sign from God,
Mm-hmm.
and He puts someone in your path,
Mm-hmm.
are you willing to like explore and try that out and see? Maybe this is the person, and this is the person that will eventually be the one.
I would say sometimes this is how our mind and humans we are. We get confused because something devil put things in our way too. That's one thing.
Yeah.
He put things. So yeah, I would just see where it is now, taking my time, stepping back, making sure I teach people how to treat me. If I don't like something, I don't care who likes or deal with what they put out there. I don't like it. I want to be respected. So if I respect you, respect me. That's a given. No matter what, like, we can joke, we can do this, whatever. But if I don't feel respected and I give you respect, that's a problem. So I got to teach people how to treat me. And so if this person in my path and they can understand my journey that I'm on and they willing to walk the journey with me, then they're that person for me. But then when the person say that, I am who I am, you're not willing to change it. The world changes as it spin around. It changes. We change. Life changes. You changes. Circumstances change. You have to be willing to change too. Because if you staying the same, or you say I'm riding on the same tires, them tires wearing down. You gotta get new ones. You got that's life. And so if that person in my path can understand where I'm going and they willing to walk with me, then I know that's maybe a sign of God. Now, will they trip out later on? We will see.
So I have to bring this up. Somebody told me this.
Ah,
And I mean, and then I got another question for you. But what if, let's say, that person, comes to you, whether it be through, let's say, Facebook. I know we've been talking about Facebook, we've been talking about Instagram.
mm-hmm,
How do you feel about dating apps? I think we kind of spoke on this. We hit this a few conversations before and
mm-hmm.
a little bit earlier, but how do you feel about dating apps?
Well, I kind of feel kind of like for some people that don't get out, because at first I didn't understand it. I was like, "Ooh, them psychos be on those dating apps. That's all that be out there." But if people don't get out, I guess that's how they date or whatever. But I've heard some success stories, so now I'm not against them. I'm for them. I just don't really want to try them because I've met some crazies
Yeah,
out
I
there.
heard
But
they hit and miss.
yeah, so but it's for people that I think that work a lot, that really don't get out, don't club or whatever. And then this is the path that they taken. And I heard a success story. I mean, the first one, it was a tragedy, but their second try, they had a success story out of it. So I don't knock it. A lot of people knock what they don't understand. That's something we have to get away from. So.
Yeah, and then the quote that someone told me that's why I started laughing is, "You're on the right bus, but you're sitting in the wrong seat." You heard that
Oh, yeah, it's similar to that. Yeah, you definitely, yeah.
before?
On the right bus, going the right way, but in the wrong seat. You should be somewhere else on another seat. And I mean, that's so true. Because like on next week, not to give too much away, but our next guest that's coming on next week. I call her a Cinderella story.
Yeah.
I watched this girl, thought this was her path, and she prayed. She put in some work with this dude, and come to find out, God was telling her all along that this wasn't. She thought it was. And finally, when God pulled it away, and He had to, sometimes He had to do it a way that it hurt us really bad, because that's the only way we're going to be chastised to understand. She ended up with the man of her dreams, a wedding of her dreams. She was married before. This was like a courthouse wedding, but she had the wedding of her dreams. She got the career of her dreams. She got the man. I mean, she got the whole shebang.
Got everything because she waited. She waited
She
for Prince
waited,
Charming.
and she got out of that seat on that bus where she was, because she was going on that path of following God, but she was in the wrong seat.
Yeah. Yeah. So I mean, I feel you. I mean, I was lucky. I never had to really do any dating apps. I met my significant other at work. We both work together, so I got lucky. I mean, there's a lot of horror stories with people dealing with people that work together. So I tried to stay away from that for many, 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 many years. And stayed away from anyone like that. But I think with me, it worked out because we were friends for a long period of time, and we didn't start talking until my other relationship ended. So it worked out perfect. I mean, yeah, she was like there already because I already knew her, but we had never like talked like we wanted to date or anything like that. And then it just happened one day. Some friends met up and invited us to someone else's birthday party, and we met there, and we just started talking. We hit it off, went bowling with some other friends, and we've been talking ever since. So I mean, I can say this is a pretty good story. It's just where we found each other was originally at work, but we never seen each other like after work until that day. So yeah, I just wanted to mention that. What are you gonna say?
No, I think it was destined for you. You gotta find each other, because You went through your situation. You healed from your situation. She healed from hers, and y'all came together. Like you can't, you know, how can I say? If you would have got out of your situation and then you wouldn't have admitted to some things that didn't happen in that situation, you still would. You probably would have been kind of bad and toxic for her. And but by you going through and waiting till you got out that situation and healing yourself, you became whole. You was that 50% she needed, with her 50.
Yeah, and coming out of that situation, I'm thinking back as you're talking. I feel like I learned a lot of things from that situation, and I didn't put myself out there like I did the first time. I was wholeheartedly, I gave my whole heart. I did, everything I was supposed to. Well, at least I felt I did. But
Mm-hmm.
there came a point in time where I kind of felt like I'm doing all these things for this person and I'm not enjoying life. Like I'm not traveling. I'm not, I feel like it's the same old, same old. Come home and, argue and come home, go to work, come home, go to work, argue, it was the same old thing and or, the same, I don't want to say the same rut every day because having a family is always a new experience every day. But when you have like a nagging person or someone that's complaining about the same specific thing all the time, or it tends to wear you down even more psychologically. Like you were saying, if you can't get out of your if you can't mentally cure yourself and get out of the past relationship, how are you going to start a new relationship? And I know sometimes, even in this relationship, certain things, and I may do something wrong, she may do something wrong, but we come together, we talk about it, and we let bygones be bygones, and we move on. And that relationship, you know, little psycho woman over there wouldn't stop. It was just like the same thing. Like you say, they just keep pounding the same thing until in your mind you're like, well, shit, maybe this is true. Maybe this is a problem. Maybe, we need to move on, and you think, maybe I should just stay longer for the kids. Maybe I should do this. You start, second guessing yourself and thinking, if I be the best person I can be, eventually, they'll come around. Which, if they don't ever come around, then you're still stuck in the same situation, dealing with the same person, and doing, mentally hurting yourself and draining yourself. Because I know you dealt with that, and I know, mine wasn't as bad because I can, I just went to work and just, threw it in the back of my mind. But dealing with that as soon as you get home, it's like when I left, when I went to work, I felt like, one person told me a long time ago, when you go to work, you leave your family and your problems at home until you get back home. So I
Mm-hmm.
felt like when I got home, I felt like I needed to like just withdraw myself. Like I didn't really drink a lot. I've always drank, but I used to find friends that I had, they would say, "Hey, let's go out." So I would do that. I would go out, go hang out with them, even though I didn't like the crowd because, I didn't I had a friend that basically only liked to go to strip clubs, and for a while, we would go and it was cool until, I figured, all that going out is not gonna help me in the long run. I didn't do it at like a lot. I did it towards like the end of, my first relationship. It wasn't like during the relationship. The only thing I did is go out here and there, but I mean that was very minimal.
Well, you know what? I'm thinking like when you try to say I'm gonna do the best, or you start when you want to be with this person or want to be with that in that family, you started fixing yourself to become what they are or whatever. So you become a different you. You fixing yourself to please them, but it's not pleasing you or God. You know what I'm saying? So so say that if you with somebody and they gamble all the time just to please them because they gambling, you go drinking, you hitting the clubs. This is not you. So I feel like I did that in so many situations because I wanted to be in that comfort of that person. You know what I'm saying? I wanted to be around that person. So let me allow this stuff to happen. I'll be around it. Oh, it's okay. Or let me try to change who I am and let me start doing this, what they're doing, to be around that person. And that's not me, you know what I'm saying? And I noticed that, like, since I've, like I told you, I had the conversation, and I never thought, me and you talk, I never thought I'd have a conversation with my son's father ever again. That was yeah, and I think it was God allowing me to go through that hurt so bad that he had to remove it, and now he won't let hurt last too long for me.
Yeah.
He'll move it immediately. But we had a conversation, and it was like an hour and 35-minute, 39-minute conversation, laughing and talking. I never thought that we would do that, but you know what? I'm starting to become one with God and walk in that path. So yeah, I moved on, but I noticed that I didn't recover from the rejections you did, when you said this, and you wasn't there, for me when I needed you to be there, or it was just, and all those little things. So when you think somebody's saying something to put you down, that kind of hurts you, but it's coming from what happened before. So I like this little quote: we all everything we've been through comes from somewhere. Everything we do comes from somewhere, from a place of hurt, from a place of rejection, from a place of doubt, from a place where we was done that way. You know what I'm saying? So past relationships can hurt you. But when people say that they don't need help or they gotten over it, yeah, you may have gotten past it,
Mhm.
but you haven't recovered from it because it did something deep down within you. And I think my the trust. Um, I don't trust nobody, and I'm reading a book someone bought me about trustworthy. You know, um, it's just like I'm learning these things that I deserve this. God didn't put me on this earth to just accept everybody's whatever they want to say or do or whatever that, I'm no. And it just feel good when you have, as a woman, I'm gonna just say for me as a woman, to have positive men that are like brothers or step brothers or brothers that, when I'm down, they kind of lift me up. And I got three positive older women, around me now. And they give me this word of encouragement every day. Everybody needs that. You can be 80 years old and still suffering from something that happened 60 years ago,
Yeah.
So I think that's, we don't need to opposite attract, right? So you don't need to try to be like a person to be with the person. You are that, you who God ordained you to be, and they have to accept it. And if you say, I don't like this. I mean, this is the situation. Have a conversation about it, and then move past that. But if you keep reiterating yourself all over again, like this is clearly you don't care.
Yeah.
Clearly, is not respect. But respect have to be given and earned. You want respect, you gotta earn my respect, and I'm gonna give you that respect. But yeah, it's just you don't see that these days at all. From especially men from this is I love this from these, I'm gonna say young men is what, 12 when they can make babies, right? So
Yeah.
yeah, so 12. That's young men. But anyway, I heard this from my friend Miss Jennifer. She teaches a class, and she's is a minister also. She said that she asked the little boy she was teaching in the health class, "What does love mean to you?" One little boy says, "Legs open very easily."
What the heck?
Yes. Legs open very easily is what he said. So she was like, he had to learn that from somewhere.
Yeah.
He
He learned that from a parent or someone older because kids don't
Mhm.
just come up with that. I mean, I would say 80 I would no, I would say 50% of kids learn things from home, they assimilate it, and they bring it to school, and then the
Mhm.
other 50% is learned from school.
Mhm.
That's why sometimes public school is a bad thing, but it's also a good thing because, you can learn about the world and diversity at a public school, but you can also learn about the world and diversity in school because, now you're learning, that little kid is gonna say that,
Mhm.
and basically another kid's gonna hear it and be like, "Hey, I like that. That's what love
Yes.
stands for." And then he's gonna say that and then repeat it to, like, his dad or
Mhm.
mom, and if they're the type of parent that thinks they're cool and thinks they're younger, they're gonna be like, "Well, I like that shit. That shit sounds good, I'm gonna do
Yeah.
that," and it just keeps going. It's like the
Mhm.
telephone game. It's just gonna keep passing it down, and everyone's gonna keep saying it. But like you were saying, you know, like kids know what love is because what they hear what love is.
Mhm.
You
Mhm.
can ask 10 kids what is love, and you're gonna have few they're gonna say kinda like what you said,
Mhm.
that acronym, or they're gonna say it's, in their mind, they may not say it, but they're gonna, what they see at home. They see their
Mhm.
mom having arguments and getting beat or
Mhm.
having an issue. That's what they think love is, so when they grow older, they're either gonna do that or they're gonna resent every woman or man because of that,
Yeah.
and the other kids are gonna know what love is because they see their parents, they're in love, and then you got the other percentage that think that love is just sex.
Yes.
Having
It's
we're gonna have sex. That's what love. Let's make love. They don't know the difference.
and then and this is the and that's the thing that I mentioned to my son's father. I was like, I don't have hate. This whatever you did, you have to answer to God. You didn't get away scot free. But I want to make sure we become the parents of a healthy and whole man. You know what I'm saying? So I want him to be a man that, actually have a conversation with a woman, know how to talk and articulate himself and to be respectful, be a respectful man. And in order to do that, you need both parents to have that dialogue. Him as the father with him and me as the mother. And they never seen us argue and fight. They never seen us. They may have seen, us say something like that. We didn't agree, but never seen an argument, never seen a fight. Because we seen that as kids,
Mm,
so we never did it around them. But the conversation where I was like, you know what, I have to fully recover, and I want us to be able, when it comes down to our son, to make sure that he sees that, yeah, they're not together, they're not, you know, with each other in the same house, but they on one accord with each other as far as when it comes to me and making sure I become the man I need to be. Because so many men and women are so broken, and all they do is go around stabbing and poking and hurting other folks. I mean, like, oh man, I didn't hurt that person. I didn't do that. Well, yes, you did. You think you didn't, but you did. It's your actions and sometimes your words on how you do it. And I just thankful that I'm praying, and with my boys, that when the exes come and talk to me and they tell me how decent men they are, you know what I'm saying, and I'm proud to say that that comes from my grandmother and my dad. So to trickle down to them how to be men to women, yeah, even if a woman does act like a hoe or act like a stripper, slut, whatever the difference is,
mhm.
but she's still a woman. She's still vulnerable. She still have something made her go to that,
Yeah.
or something led her to that. Just show that respect for her, because once you show that person that respect, it can change their whole life. You never know, it can change their whole mindset. And so, now that I had that conversation, I'm free. I feel even freer than I was getting out of the relationship because, like I told him, there's no real hate. I hate the way you did the things you did, but you have to answer to God through all that stuff you did. But I can't say I totally hate you because I love my son 100% and we made him. He's 50% you, 50% me.
Yeah.
And I love him. So I love you too as my son's father. And people was like, oh, yeah, you trying to get back together? Hell no. Hell to the no.
It's a big difference with trying to mend the relationship in order to co-parent.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you show hate towards your baby's father, your son is going to see that and be like, well, my
Mm-hmm.
mom hates my dad, you know, and then he may eventually pick a side, and it might
Mm-hmm.
be the wrong side because he may pick the side of the dad and be like, well, if my mom dislikes my dad, she's gonna dislike me. You know, you have
Mm-hmm.
to show love for the other parent at all times, you know, not talk down. And I learned that the hard way. I don't think I ever really talked down to my ex. I think that I mentioned some things in front of people and we
Mm-hmm.
were talking just because, you know, nosy people are gonna be nosy. They're gonna ask questions and why this and why that. And you know, and I may have talked, situations that we had,
Mm-hmm.
and the kids heard, and I at after the fact, I kind of felt a certain way. I'm like, man, maybe I shouldn't have said their mom did this, or because they're gonna feel a certain way, and they're
Mm-hmm.
gonna go back and tell their mom, and I felt at that point, I'm like, I probably just need to watch my words, and if I'm gonna talk about the mom, even if it's good or it's bad, it's best me to not even, mention in front of them. So they know is we have a strong front, and we love them enough to at least co-parent and be friends with each other, and not, I would hate to have a bad relationship, with uh another person that I had a kid with, especially, since the relationship I have now is not the greatest. Like, we haven't talked since, I mean, now since my youngest graduated, but before then, it was when my oldest graduated. Besides that, it was like a cop calling me to tell me that the vehicle, was seen, you know, um, running a bunch of red lights or something because a car she sold, and they didn't change the plates, and it was involved in some type of hit and run or something, and the cops calling me. I don't even know why, because my name was nowhere on that car, because she bought that car on her own, so it was weird to me, but I relayed the relation, the information, and I just let her do whatever she needed to. But in no way, shape, or form did I say, you know what, I'm just gonna keep this information so something happens to her or something like that. I'm like, no, I need to let her know, because if she's driving my kids around in that car, or something happens in the car that she's in now, or gets pulled over and go to jail, then God forbid, I gotta go, go try to go get them from wherever they're at, whatever time of the day it is. So I think it's always best, I'm really glad that you had a conversation with your ex, and it went well, and you felt relieved, because I think that's what I had been asking for years from my ex, and it never happened. We tried to have a sit down, and I think me and you talked about it, and it didn't happen. So, you know, it is what it is. It's kind of too late now. I mean, I've said my piece when I've talked to her, and she said hers, and it's still never ending battle. She thinks she's gonna win. I think I'm gonna win. It's best
Mm-hmm.
to leave it alone. But with you, you said your piece. You talked to him, and you felt relief. I think that's really good, because that actually takes a lot of weight off your shoulders, and now you
Mm-hmm.
can really, really, really move on.
Yeah, it was so, because it was like we still on a credit card together or whatever. And I was like, hey, I need you to stop because I don't need nothing to move on my credit. And it was just like, I guess me praying. I didn't even pray to even this to have a conversation. It was just praying God give me right. And it was just like we can laugh about things. We never, like, it was just that I told him not out of anger. Like before, it was like I was, because when he called me after court, I was like angry. Like, why are you calling me? You didn't call me no other time, and all the stuff I've been through. But it was out of a place of relief. And we had to go through this stuff. And we knew we was done, but the way you did it and how it was just cold. But I knew God turned you cold for me to be able to move forward in my life. And I told him I appreciate what God did. God separating from each other, because that allowed me to start to see who I am. And yeah, I end up slipping into some crazy situations, but I'm like, yeah, I didn't like how he said what he said, or when he did what he did, and I see these patterns and I don't like that. I mean, whether you my friend or not, respect me, because I know I'm gonna go all out, friend or not a friend, you know what I'm saying? But I want that respect. If I don't feel it, and I feel like if you give respect, you should receive respect. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I feel like I'm 10 times better. This is like really. Uh, I feel like it just went off. I know, but it's just like I deserve that, because I know the person that I am and the person that I'm striving to be. Because I'm God is not done. I'm not done, but I know what I'm not gonna allow anymore, and I'm just at that point. If you want to laugh and joke with me, I'll laugh and joke all day, every day. But it's about a place of, sometimes stuff can come from a hurt place, and people don't think that that's coming from a hurt place. It is. That doesn't make me feel good. And if I tell you it's not nagging, it's just letting you know. And it was so, the part that I loved, that the conversation we had, it was so he could tell me about me, I could tell him about him, and we can say, okay, this is what happened with the breakdown between us. And we knew it was over, because we both was growing different ways. He was getting into more money, he was feeling himself, he was becoming that person about things. I was trying to grow in school, and I was trying to find myself in the workplace and try to find myself as a person. But and I accepted, he accepted, you know what I'm saying? And that's where, when it's not any back and forth, when you just accept it and be like, okay, you're right, you 100% right. I feel good when he said you're a Sour Patch Kid. And then when he explained it, yeah, I can be sweet. Then I'll let you know before I bite you. Hey, I don't like this. Woohoo, don't like this. Then I'm gonna bite your ass. But then I'm gonna band-aid you up. I'm then, probably put some little Novocaine or whatever on it.
Mm.
But I do let you know. And it was very appreciative,
Yeah.
that
The
conversation.
reason y'all's conversation was so good, and I'll tell you, was because both of you are not in the relationship anymore. You actually can see what's going on. He doesn't, like, if y'all were in the relationship and he was to say, well, I'm doing this wrong and this and this and this, and you're doing this wrong, that'll just spark up a fight. Now with
Mm-hmm.
you being on your own and him being on his own, y'all doing your own thing, you can see better. Like
Mm-hmm.
the glass is clear. You can say, "Hey, you did this when we were in the relationship," and he can
Mm-hmm.
say, "And you did this in the relationship," and he can say, "Well, if I said this, then you would blow up, just like a Sour Patch Kid."
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It makes more sense now because both of you are over it. Y'all moved on. You've been on another relationship. He's been on another relationship. And now, after those relationships, you can kind of see, hey, he hurt me this way, but guess what? I'm moving past that, even though deep down, it's still a scar. I feel that.
Yeah.
So now, what you're searching for now for that next person is that person that's going to fill you up, make you whole, and not bring up those issues, those, not issues, but that hurt, that scar, that
Mm-hmm.
pain. Once you let that person know, this is what I dealt with, that right person is going to be like, well, I'm not going to be that, I'm not going to do that. I'm not gonna bring that up. They're gonna be very careful and kind of watch what they say when it comes to like situations like that. That's
Mm-hmm.
what I think. And that's why I said I'm real happy that you feel relieved and pretty much both of y'all got all that off your chest. You got to
Mm-hmm.
say your piece. He got to say his piece, even though what he did was wrong. At that
Mm-hmm.
given point. Now looking back at it, you can kind of forgive him and basically really, really, really move on.
Yeah, and that's how I feel too, because I know usually it would be combative. He would say something and like, and then I'll be like, no, that's not true. And then I'll say something. This was like what, last year October. I'll say something what he did, and I didn't. He'll be combative with me.
Mhm.
This time I knew I wasn't gonna get an apology. That's just not y'all Geminis. But I wasn't gonna get an apology. But to me, it was an apology because he
It's
wasn't
tough not
combative.
to apologize, but go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yes, it is. But it wasn't combative. So that's how I felt like that was the best part right there because he wasn't combative. So I can accept that you let me get my thought out. You let me get what I needed to get out to you, and you accepted it and you didn't get combative. To me, that was you really listening this time. Even though you said you listen all the time, yeah, you were sitting there, but you didn't listen. So that was really appreciative because he wasn't combative. He let me get it out, let me say what I needed to say, and then he took it in and he was like, I'm glad you're doing better. I'm glad you're better. Now, am I gonna take the child support off? Nah, because you may trip up. But we good. We at a
Why
better
we gotta
place
always go back to child support?
because he may trip up. Like it can be 1 minute he here and I can rely on him, and next minute I can't. But I'm just saying, I don't know. But we got past that point, and there's nothing there for us. I had to learn, you know what I'm saying? And it was just that how long it took me to learn. I'm hard headed. So I had 12 years to learn. Now God ain't even letting me go that long. God letting me see and feel stuff early on, or people telling me stuff. Now, when people tell me stuff, I sit, I think, I try to process it. And it may not be the right way they're saying it, but if I process the right way, then I mean, I can understand what they're saying. Like, but now God is just removing stuff quicker than he did before. Sometimes I stayed in my mess, like, no, God, don't take it away. I'm going to be there. And now it's just like, God was like, okay, I'm going to move you quicker because I got a place for you to go and I got a path that I need you to be on. And we can't keep playing with this path. So,
Yeah, I mean, that was a good conversation. I felt when you told me about that earlier, I felt a certain way and I wish I had that closure. Basically, that's what you got. And I think we talked about
mm-hmm,
it before. The closure was never there. Yes,
mm-hmm,
each of y'all moved on, but you didn't say your piece to each other and
mm-hmm,
move on. It was like, okay, it was open ended. I'm getting my stuff. I'm gone. See you later. Have a happy life.
mm-hmm.
I'll do my thing. You do your thing. We'll carry on. Child support is coming on you. Your favorite word right now.
No,
And
but I'm just saying, if I'm gonna be the caregiver, you got to be the financial, unless you want to take part 50-50, we can do 6 months, 6 months,
yeah,
nobody want to
that
do
wouldn't
that.
work in my situation. He was the worst.
I would oh, here you go, 6 months, your turn.
No,
I would gladly do it
certain,
if it.
certain people, um, let me say it this way: certain people feel a certain way about their kids,
Mhm,
and they feel like they gotta put a blanket over them and always watch them,
mhm,
and don't let them do their own or come into their own. Yes, you got to watch your kid. Yes, you got to make sure they're doing the right thing. Yes, you go with them, some halfway into the restroom, and things
mhm,
like that. But when people start to, crowd them or not let them do anything or sleep over, another family member's house that we know is safe, and things like that. I think that's too far, or let the grandmother watch the kids because you want to hoard them, and we can never have, like, I mean, I'm bringing my stuff up, never have a family outing, just you and the wife or whatever. When it comes to that point, and you're like, well, oh, and you're out, and you're like having fun, and you're like, well, the kids, and I don't want my mom to watch the kids for so long, and it's not really that. It's more like you really want to get back to get the kids so you can hound them and hoard them, and I don't know. That'll be another conversation for another day. I know we kind of went over a little bit. Then I guess let me ask you the final question, because you
Okay.
never answered with a number. How long are you willing to work while you wait?
As as long as it takes. As long as it takes. I mean, because you never know. Like, I can be completely putting in the work right now, and God said, "Okay, here go everything," or I have to wait a year or two to completely be where He needs me to be. So it's right now is I don't know, like, type thing. As long as I get on that path and start working, that's the main thing. And I'll work a little bit, then I get distracted. I'll work a little bit, then I get distracted. But now it's just like, now putting in the work, you know what I'm saying? And seeing where God gonna take, because He always shows me little things like, okay, here go a little blessing to let you know that I'm still here.
Yeah.
So I'm on that path. Now, will I mess up? Yes, we all do. Will I cuss somebody out?
Hmm.
100% chance, yes. So
Yeah, I would say there's no. I was kind of testing you to see if you would say like a time, but I don't think there's really like a set time. You
Mhm,
know, God works in his at his own time, at his own pace, and you'll never know that person that's in front of you if that was put in front of you or into your life by God or by the devil. Like you
mhm,
said earlier, because it could be either or it could be the devil put them there, but God has will manipulate them to, come to you and change. So I don't think there's a set time or date. I think whoever comes into your path, you have to observe it for yourself and see where that person came from. Are they coming from the heart? They coming from the devil? They coming from God? And then try them out and see how it works out, because you can't every person that comes into your life think that that's you know uh, um, gonna be a problem, or they can't be fixed, like we were saying, about
mhm,
broken ducks. You don't know if you can fix that person, and it's just something within them, because like we said the other day, everyone's hurt, everyone's
mhm,
broke. It's just, what's the extent of the brokenness? Is it just a broken heart, or a heart that doesn't trust anymore because something happened to them, or is it they have relationship issues? I think when they have relationship issues, if you can bring the trust back into the relationship, just like you say you can't trust nobody. I think if you can bring that trust into the relationship, and then both of you work on it, and both of you have that excellent communication, I think it can work. It
mhm,
can definitely work, and especially if you, are going to church, and y'all are, leaning into the word, and both of you are really focused on working together and working your life together, and not, you trying to fix yourself, he's trying to fix himself, and not both of you trying to fix each other and fix yourself. I think, I'm kind of rambling now, but I know that, you know, that person is out there. You know,
mhm.
for me, I
Yeah.
got lucky. I found my person, and we kind of meshed well. We were almost like best friends at first, and it just worked out. So I would say, maybe try to find a person that you feel would be like a best friend first, and then get to know them, and then let them into your heart. You know,
Mhm,
check and make sure. he checks most of the boxes,
Mhm.
within the heart, and then everything else, should start to fall in place, once you guys have trust in each other, and give each other, yourself wholeheartedly.
Mhm. I think so too. I think it's just that you can say friends,
Yeah.
but really, who are our friends? What is that song? How many of us have them? Friends. But okay, so people can start off being friends, but how many friends do you end up losing because a friend doesn't value you or respect you or even call and shoot a text message once in a while to check on you. You check on this other friend, I check on you, but when do you check on me?
Hmm.
You see what I'm saying? That you could be friends with those type of people, but when are you checking on me? When you checking to see if I'm good? Just I'm always, I don't care if you're in my circle, regardless. I'm gonna pray for you, regardless. You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna pray for you, but when are you gonna check on me? And I think only God can be jealous, but I that's a jealousy for me because you gonna check on somebody else and you're not gonna check on me, and I'm over here praying for you every single day, and I'm having a meltdown 10 to 13 times a week. You know what I'm saying? I build myself up so people don't see me melt, but I'm having that mental meltdown, that emotional meltdown, and a kind word is all it takes. Like, hey, you good? That's it. Even if you don't mean it, do you know how many people appreciate that? How many people, because they're not getting it all the time, that thank you. It be shocking when I say something to somebody and they would look at me like, really, she's saying it? Yeah, how
It's,
are you
it's
doing?
yeah, it's like someone who is not used to getting compliments, and you finally compliment them, and they
Hmm.
don't see it as a compliment. They're like, "What are you saying?" Da, da, da."
Hmm.
I've seen that, and it's those people are very defensive because of what happened before. The broke
Hmm.
duck, may have said something for many years, or you know, you can be verbally abused for a long period of time, and you don't you at that point you kind of like duck away from good things. You could
Hmm.
have a good man in front of you, telling you, oh, you're beautiful, or you're this, or I find you attractive, and you're like, "N- leave me alone, I don't want to talk to you." You don't know if that person is Mr. Right.
Hmm.
So,
And when somebody come in and say that, this is the thing that gets to me. I'd rather somebody be attracted to me than to find beauty, because beauty fades, attractiveness doesn't. Because this is the thing, men and women, we is sexual beings, but I'm more than hips, lips, and thighs. I'm more than that. You know what I'm saying? So when you see me, I pray that they see more than that. I'm a person with a brain. I'm a person that has a heart to care, a big ass heart. That's the problem. And when you just see lips, hips, and whatever, that phase, like that does, you're not gonna be your 100% self. Eventually, I'm not gonna be my 100% self.
mhm.
So it has to get past just the sexual thing. Then everybody act good for a certain period of time. Everything is good, but then
Honeymoon
when,
phase, everything's great.
yeah, and then what happens when that's over with? What happens when things doesn't go that person way or whatever? It's just gone. I mean, we save that for the next one. But yeah.
All right, so this concludes our podcast for today. um As Kim said, next week we will have a special guest. We're not going to divulge much information besides the information we already gave out, but it is going to be the Cinderella story, and we'll talk about that some more next week. Thank you for joining the Even Me podcast.